G'day, welcome back. I'd especially like to welcome my new subscribers, and I hope you enjoy the content on my channel. Now, if you missed part 2 of the rotary table build, there's a link up there, you can go watch that first. Now, before I go on, the good news is I seem to be getting over this dose of the flu. It's been whacking the hell out of me for the last week or so, and I'm starting to feel a little more human than I have just in recent times. Now, in this episode I'm going to chop into that little dumbbell I bought and make up some component parts to join the actual table to the base below it. And if I can find a lump of steel in the meantime, we'll machine up the base that the whole lot sits on. But anyway, we'll see how we go, and so follow me over to the lathe and we'll get on with it. Alrighty, so while you guys weren't looking, I got this in the saw and I lopped some of the end off to save me a bit of machining time. Chopped them in half, and so I've faced the end off that again while you weren't looking. Put a centre drill in that so I can get the live centre up in there. Had a little test cut here. This stuff doesn't seem to be hard and disgusting like those other things have been, so we'll get into it. And I've got to turn this down eventually to 14mm, but I think I'll leave it just a bit bigger because I'm going to grip it in here and wreck the surface and everything. But that's what I'm going to do. I'll turn that down round, come up in here a bit with it as well, and then turn it around to grip it on here. Alrighty, battery's going flat on me here. This is obviously a much cleaner grade of cast iron than those other rubbishy things. You can see the shiny bits here, that's that hard crust on the outside, but it's nowhere near as bad as so the other things were. But like I said, battery's going flat, and I want to whittle away this up here, which will take a while. So I'll bring you back when I've got all that done. Oh, that was starting to sing a little bit out towards the end there. Well, I'll call it done for now. It is No Noise Sunday and I really shouldn't be doing this, but I've lost so much time the last week or so that I just felt the need to catch up. But anyway, so next step will be to put a 4-jaw in, I think, because this needs to be pretty good. So this will be the piece that will fit up into the main table. I think before I go any further I'll bore this out because I want this to slide over that shaft. I'm going to put a 14mm by 1mm pitch thread on the end when I figure out the proper length of it. But I think I'll keep this shaft up here 16mm, so this is 20. I'll bore that out to 16 so that I can get a good fit on it when I machine this end of it. But anyway, so we'll get it in the 4-jaw and set it up in there. But I think I'll leave that till tomorrow and call it quits for today. It's lunchtime now, and I hear old mate over the road hacking up a lung, so it sounds like he's got the flu as well. So best not be annoying him too much. Alrighty, so until tomorrow, that's it. Alrighty, now yesterday afternoon I came back out and machined this up with the little carbide boring bar that I have, one of these. It had a boss in the centre there, but I don't have a trepanic tool and I couldn't be bothered making one to put a trepan and something up in the back of this, so I just decided to machine that flat. So what I've got to do to this now is machine the OD of that to this, and then work out how far out I have to come here, because this sits onto the back of it and it has to sit out away from the base of the table, and then it steps down to the ID of the hole of I bored in the back of the table. that's where I'm at. Still about 9mm to come off this, so I'll show you a bit of that and then I'll bring you back later on. I did say I was going to change the forge jaw, and then I realised that the relationship between the OD of this and that shaft doesn't really matter until I go to finish that shaft. So once I finish all the front end of it here and put it back in, I'll put that back in the forge jaw and true it all up. Well, I've been making 1/2mm cuts, but that's the first time I decided I was going to shudder and shake like that. Looks like 1/2mm this way okay, 1/2mm that way not okay. Just a bit of a sanity check, make sure I'm on the same page here, 41. One last sanity check. Now I've got a feeling this will be maybe 0.1 or something too big. There it is. Bang on 0.1 too big, which is what I allowed for when I set the DRO. Go back and take a skim off this. Hard to get this to adjust to 0.1, I'll tell you. This end doesn't matter, so I can afford to. Oh, look at that. Absolutely perfect. So I'll take that all the way to the back. Alrighty, so now I need to put you on hold while I go and do something I should have done before I started and work out how far out here this smaller section needs to come, because I need to make, when this sits on the back of there, it has to sit out away from the table a bit to allow for the worm to clear it. This has been kind of doing my head in. I sat down and tried to work this out on paper and came up with 7.3mm. But then I thought, oh, I'll come and try and do like a bit of a physical check, and I sat this on here like this and roughly centered it and marked it. And this mark here is only about 5.8mm, so it's out, that's 1.5mm less. I can't afford to get this wrong, so what I've decided to do is just come out about 6mm and always machine a bit more off that face later if I have to, if it sticks out too far. I can't afford to have it stick out too far because it'd push everything down into the lower one too far, and I'm sort of running out of depth down in there as it is. So anyway, I'm going to settle on 6mm, and I hope like hell that that's okay. So that's where we're at. Alrighty, so I fitted up the forge jaw and just made a little cut across the edge to make sure I'm not cutting too much of a taper on it. I'm only going to end up with a piece, I checked it before, about 25mm long here, so it's a fair chunk to come off the end of that. Anyway, we'll get this down to 16mm to start with. I've gone to a 0.4 radius tip now to see if we can get a better finish. We'll just have a quick sanity check here. 17 point. Like I said, all this bit's got to come off, so if I'm going to make a mistake, it needs to be down here. Well, this battery hasn't lasted long. I'm going to change batteries. Well, we also went to change batteries and was confronted by 3 flat batteries. Anyway, so I decided I'd continue on, finish this because I want to get it done today. So it seems this has to come off. I just uncut it all. I was going to have to size this shaft, and I Just might as well size the bit I need to size. So I've got that. I ended up having to face this off a bit more here because you get that right up in there where it needs to be, and have a look and assume that that face there's the bottom of the table. It's got plenty of clearance. It's probably 1 millimetre. I was only allowing for about 1/2 mil before, but I still might have to take a little bit more off there. What I've got to do is put the table up on here and then sit it down into the base and check to see whether this face here is rubbing in the bottom of the base or not. If it is, then I'm going to have to take a bit more off that face there. But anyway, that's where I'm at. So this battery's not fully charged yet, so I'll put it back in the charger, it'll have all night, and we'll get back in tomorrow. I think I'll part that off tomorrow, get rid of it, get rid of this bit here, and then we'll check it, do some checks and make sure everything fits where it's supposed to be. If it doesn't, modify it and then move on. Alrighty, so this morning I got this thing back out of the lathe to check it all out and see where we're at, and I actually had to take a bit more off the face behind here because it was when I sat these two together like this, I could get a 0.88 millimetre feeler gauge in between the two, so I had to get down and take some more off. It looks like I took a bit too much off in the end, but that doesn't matter, because the next cab off the rank is a piece that fits in here but comes through from this side and will sit up into that groove there, and that will locate it, because at the moment, as you'll notice, this wobbles that way, so now I have to stop it wobbling around like that. So the next two parts I'm going to make, and I've already got into it this morning and started on that other half of the dumbbell to do the boring bits that you've seen already, is machine up the bit that goes in there from the other side and the piece that makes the nut up for in here. So follow me back over the lathe and we'll get into that. Alrighty, so as I said a moment ago, I got into this morning and machined all this thing down like I did to the other one. I kind of stuffed up when I bored out the back of the base, and I bored it out too much. So now, by the time I knock all the corners off this damn thing, it'll be a little bit too small. Anyway, I should have measured this first, but got a bit carried away. But anyway, we'll get into this. Got to make two parts out of this. The first one's only 6.5 mil long, and then I've got to try and part it off, which won't be easy. But anyway, we'll see how we go. I might move this tool, I think. Alrighty, that'll do for the time being. We'll worry about this part back here later. Now, just want to check I'm still got my 0 here. No, I don't. So I think I'll put a new tip in. I think the jaws of this before, I think I'll take the edge of it. Re-zero this. Videoing this for a minute and just go and check what it is I'm doing, because I don't want to cock this up. Alrighty, so I've finished turning that down now, so this fits on there nicely. It's a pretty good fit on that. So now I have to turn a step in it for where it goes into that bottom base. The conjecture is how far in do I go, but I'm going to allow 2 millimeters in there. The step inside that gear is 1.7, and they've got a bit of slop in there, so 2 millimeters it is. And if I have to later, I can put the whole base back in with this fitted in there and just skim a little bit off the top. Alrighty, so this is going to go down to 38.25 for a little bit, just a low, so about 2 millimeters to come off. Alright, sanity check. 0.3, so I think I'll take 0.12 point. Right, now that's measuring 0.03 millimetres over this hole size. Oh, I can't get it on there because I haven't seen enough off there. I know, big hole in the back, so let's come in from the back side. Oh, that might be a bit tight, I think. So, no, I think that'll be okay. Alright, so I'm going to have to get rid of a bit more of this off here, I think. Bring you back when I'm getting closer. Alrighty, so as you can probably hear by the pitter-patter of raindrops on the roof, got a storm rolling through here at the moment. And while you weren't looking, I drilled a 12mm hole in here, and I have to bore it out to fit this part here, which is about 10mm bigger than that hole. So we'll get on with it. Alrighty, so I finished boring that hole about half an hour ago, but it was raining so hard it was no use trying to talk to you, but you could never heard me. So I thought I'd continue on while I could disguise all the noise that I was making, make as much noise as I like. Now just about got this nearly parted off, so I'll finish parting it off and show you what we've done. Right, your balls. Okay, so that's the first part off out of the two. Now I've got to machine that up into a 10mm thick piece and put a 14 by 1mm pitch thread in it. So that will face it off a bit better. So I can put that back and chuck that one, just face it off a bit. Alrighty, so at this point in the video I'd like to thank my patrons. Without their support, you know, things get a little tough, and their support is greatly appreciated. If you'd like to become a patron, there's a link down in the description, and you can join up there and throw me a couple of dollars every month. Or if you don't want to be a patron, you can buy me a coffee. There's a link down there in the description for that as well. And there's always that thanks button down there. You can drop a couple of dollars through there. But anyway, we'll get on with this. This storm's still raging around here and it's still raining a bit, but I'll have to go and get my daughter from school soon, so I might leave this one for tomorrow. Well, Gills, I decided this morning that you'd probably seen me machine enough cast iron for a while, so I machined all this up while you weren't looking. So all I've got to do now is turn that around and part the back off, because it's a lot easier to part that off than just part through this. And that nut will be pretty much finished. So I'll do that and I'll get back to you. Alrighty viewers, so I nearly took that this damn thing out too soon. I forgot I had to put a little undercut in here, because when this thing fits in there, I made it a bit longer because there wasn't much engagement. It sticks out just a little bit, so I needed some bit of room for that to sit up in there. So anyway, there was 3 parts I wanted to get out of that dumbbell, and here they are, 1, 2, 3 parts. So let's tap that in there, because where that goes, because that sits up, it runs in there like that. This bit goes up in there. I will lock tight that in place when I'm ready. Sit that on top of there. Look at that, beautiful. Alright, still don't have enough clearance in there, so I took a little bit off the face of this thing where it runs on the gear. That looks like I'll have to take just a little bit more. What have we got here? 5,000th of a millimetre. What's that? No, 5,000. 0.13 of a millimetre. That fit in there. Or just. Alright, so I've got maybe 2,000 or something to come off the face of that thing. But this part, it's got a screw onto there. But there is a small catch. I don't have a holder for this button die. So that'll have to be a little side project between now and when I move on to the next bit. But anyway, I reckon that's about as far as I'm going to get for this episode. It's taken me a lot longer to make them than I thought it would. And I don't want to drag this on for too much longer for this episode. Anyway, my apologies for making you sit through all that turning, but because I have no plans for this and I'm making this up as I go, I thought I'd best explain as much of it as I could, in case someone wants to be as stupid as me and have a go at this themselves. But anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and don't forget, if you did, give it a great big thumbs up, and I'll see you next week. Bye bye.